um, number 19. A man in Birmingham had grown morose from the time he was in his teens. He had few friends, save as his wealth brought the usual following of individuals who sought to benefit themselves through his favors. One day he received an anonymous letter setting forth his career of ill nature, and that the fact that he had no genuine friends because of his bad disposition. A photograph of his face was enclosed. It had been snapped on the street one day to serve this purpose, and was used to aid in driving home the criticism in the letter. He studied himself in the mirror and came to the conclusion that the writer of the anonymous letter had done him a real service. He consulted a physician in another city who was an expert in psychotherapeutics and was subjected to a series of hypnotic treatments. The physician had the good judgment to proceed along the line of future wakefulness, which is the only method that achieves genuine results. The fault of the man was that, with his wealth, he had been mean, close, selfish, niggardly, pessimistic, and egotistic. The doctor spoke to him in the hypnotic state somewhat as follows. You are to wake up and find yourself a changed man. You are to wake up and find yourself generous, pleasant, full of good cheer, charitable, and desirous of helping your fellow beings. When you go out on the street tomorrow, you will have a smile and kind word for all persons, and be willing to listen to the appeals of others and to help them. After each treatment, the man, on waking up, could not recall anything that had been said to him. It was all a blank, but he noticed that his ill nature had been subdued, as he was inclined to be cheerful and regarded the feeling of others. This improvement grew from day to day as the suggestions increased, and at length the man said that he had two personalities. One was his former self, and the other was a much better individual. He learned in time to adopt the latter and to entirely suppress the former, but it was only by hypnotic suggestion that this was accomplished. In his own words, the power of this appeal to his other mind is described. I had been talked to by friends and relatives for years about my bad disposition, but their entreaties had no effect. The more they talked to me, the worse I became. They tried other methods, sometimes holding me up to ridicule, at other times snubbing and slighting me, and often acting as if I had no sense of decency. But I could not be moved by argument, by entreaty, by abuse, or any other agency until I was hypnotized. After I awoke from each sleep, I found something working in me that I could not understand. It was something that controlled me and compelled me to do as I wanted, or as it wanted. And I tried to obey all the time. I am mentally better and stronger than ever before in my life, and I am capable of being more useful in every way. Now, many facts and laws may be gathered from the foregoing cases, and we will summarize them as follows. 1. Suggestions made during hypnotic sleep are stronger than those made in wakefulness. 2. Suggestions made during hypnotic sleep are stronger when they relate to commands or statements to be executed during wakefulness, for they serve to change the habits of the individual. 3. Suggestions made in hypnotic sleep that relate to transactions and conditions within the period of sleep may change physical tissue and processes in the body, but do not bear after fruit in the mind and morals of the subject. They are like a vague dream, or else are almost wholly lost. 4. Hypnotism is based on the process of temporarily suppressing the conscious mind and making it a blank by putting it into sleep. 5. There are all grades of hypnotism, from partial drowsiness to the somnambulistic stage of profoundest slumber of the conscious mind. 6. Hypnotic wakefulness occurs during hypnotic control and is wholly unlike natural wakefulness, which occurs when all hypnotic control has ceased. 7. In hypnotic wakefulness, the other mind is alert, and receives the suggestions. But in natural wakefulness, the conscious mind is alert and generally resists all suggestions not in accord with the wishes and habits of the individual. 8. In hypnotic wakefulness, the conscious mind receives no suggestion in direct form, but is reached in the after wakefulness that follows into a natural realm, provided the other mind is charged with the duty of so reaching it. 9. It would seem then as if the conscious mind were the agency of the physical habits, wishes, and tendencies, while the other mind were the agents of a higher nature. It is to prove this claim, or else to disprove it, that many experiments are being made today. There is already some reason to believe that the other mind includes a large range of action from the commonplace to the greatest along ethical lines. It is well settled that it acts for the physical body and thereby gives rise to physical telepathy, and it is more than likely that experiments will prove that it is the agent for the psychic forces in the purest forms of existence, and only as such can it disassociate itself from the baser habits of physical life. That was a mouthful. Many cases are recorded of the attempt to influence by hypnotic suggestion the commission of a crime. One man was told in the hypnotic state that when he awoke he would go up to a man at a certain time and place and give him £2, and this he did. He was then told in another sitting when he awoke that he would go to a man and take his umbrella from him, accosting the first man whom he saw carrying an umbrella. At the time and place he approached a man, and instead of committing larceny, he asked for the loan of the umbrella, and was refused it, whereby he abandoned the matter. He was told in another sitting that when he awoke he would at a given time and place present a book to a lady whom he would meet in the street. This he did. Afterwards he was told that he would at a public corner at the hour of noon kiss the first very tall lady whom he would meet there. He went to the place as stated, approached a woman who was quite tall, and seeing that she was not receptive, he went home and kissed his wife. Now these incidents show that the subject hesitates when there is some wrong likely to be committed, but that he always obeys when the act is right. Interesting association there. When it's right, he obeys. When it's wrong, he disobeys. Interesting. Keep that in your back of your mind. Even the morally weak are slow to do an act that may lead to arrest when the command is to do it in public. One man who had a bad record as a petty thief was told to go into a shop at a certain time and place and take some handkerchiefs from one counter and carry them to another. He was on hand at the time appointed and went to the handkerchief counter, but he did not touch the goods. After waiting several minutes, he asked the assistant to help him with the task, and, under supervision, this man performed the duty. The same subject was directed to move about some articles in his own home, and did so, to the great convenience of his wife. In the cycle to follow, the processes will be classified so that they may be better understood. In the present cycle, we will find a certain group of conditions maintained. A. In all the cases cited, the subject has been given suggestions in the hypnotic sleep to be performed when he awoke. B. The hypnotic sleep included the hypnotic awakening, during which the suggestions were made. C. All the duties to be performed were to be executed wholly in the state of natural wakefulness. D. The suggestions were made after the conscious mind had been suppressed, and they were executed after the conscious mind had come again into full control. It was a span from the realm of the other mind to the realm of the working mind. E. The conscious mind seems to be the seat of all the bad habits and inclinations, and especially of obstinacy. In many cases, there is nothing that can master it. Hypnosis, therefore, confers a great blessing on the individual and the public by being able to suppress for the time being the refractory conscious mind and calling into aid the all-powerful other mind. F. The latter has certainly shown itself the complete master of the conscious mind. One great step in our study has been taken when we find these facts established. Not only has the other mind been shown to be a separate realm, but it has been amply proved to be the better mind of the two. Other steps are to follow in the next cycles that are of still greater importance of this work. The operations of the other mind do not depend upon hypnotic sleep. That is one only of several methods by which its power can be called into use. The control that is secured by hypnosis is necessarily limited, as most persons do not care to be put into such sleep, and not everyone can control them unless there is first a course of training in that direction. Any good rule of life that is intended for usefulness ought to be free from the limitations that are placed upon hypnosis, and we find this view maintained by the other methods of arousing the activity of the other mind. So that's an interesting read that we just did about the other mind. And the operations of the other mind do not depend upon hypnotic sleep. The control that is secured by hypnosis is necessarily limited. And I think that that's to be true because, we're waking up in this day and age, and we're coming to an awakening, and you can't control our minds perhaps like you used to. And so some of it, I guess in the end, it's all mind control, but some of it was hypnosis in the respect that they were able